I found no worth. You paid it all for me. You were being so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, you're coming after me. Stone wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, you're coming after me. Snow shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, you're coming after me. Reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. You know the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could bury that kind of weight? Oh, it was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. Oh, it was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. Oh, the Emmanuel, yeah, Jesus, we now make you holy day. We call my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, to your glorious day. You call my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, to your glorious day. Everybody sing, I need a rescue. Ooh, I need a rescue. My sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I need a shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Now your love is the air that I'll breathe in. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you call my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, to your glorious day. I call your name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, to your glorious day.
Amen. It is a glorious day. I hope that you find that for yourself today. We're so excited that you joined us for daily worship for just a few minutes of getting closer to God and connecting. I have a question for you to start. Have you ever set out to do something and it completely failed? I have an embarrassing story about myself right now that I want to tell you, and it's really okay if you laugh at me about this. But one of the early years of my marriage, I think it may have literally been the first Christmas after my wife and I got married. We got married in November, so we were married for a month. I set out to make her super happy for Christmas and get her something I really thought that she would love. The first year we were married, it needed to be a memorable Christmas. So I picked out this gift, and I remember thinking, yes, this is something super niche that hardly anyone thinks to get their spouse, so she's going to love it. I thought she would feel seen because I had been watching her, and I knew that she was really into this activity. So Christmas comes, and I'm all excited for her to open her gift and totally ready to just receive the praise and thanksgiving I know is coming my way for how perfectly it captured who she was, who my wife was. Needless to say, when she opened her brand new electric toothbrush, she was less than pleased. Yeah, I told you. Yeah. She probably wanted to know how I could possibly be so stupid, but she refrained from asking me. Her face, it betrayed her though, and I can't even blame her. I can't blame it. Like I said, like they did, you're allowed to laugh at me. I laugh at myself. You should. And I'm happy, but I'm happy to report that this major slip was just a small blip on the radar rather than the norm. My wife would tell you today that I'm a great gift giver, and now we have this funny story to tell forever, to remember forever. I tried to make my wife happy is the point, and I failed big time. Now, you've probably set out to do something that didn't go like you thought it would, and hopefully for you it was as benign as getting your spouse a bad gift for Christmas, even though I know that's not really the case for everybody. Some of you have made decisions that have had a lasting impact that did not turn out the way you had hoped. You spent too much money on something you thought you needed, and now you struggle to keep up. You made a major career change, and after a short while, it ended abruptly. You entered into a relationship that ended poorly and has left you with some baggage. You put your trust in somebody who burned you. And the list, it goes on from that. And whether we made those decisions with good intentions or not, we've all been there. And depending on how many times this sort of thing happens to us, we might feel stuck where we are. doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again. We may even feel like God has forgotten about us. We feel lost. And in some way, I think the group of sailors in Acts 27 probably felt this way. See, here we find Paul hitching a ride with some guys to Rome via boat, and just before they ship out, they notice a storm brewing on the horizon. It's kind of the rainy season. Paul tries to warn them. Paul tries to warn the sailors that they should wait, lest they run the risk of losing cargo, a shipwreck, and maybe even losing their lives. Now, if only you or I had somebody to warn us about impending danger every time it was on the horizon. But anyway, they ignore the warning. And when you know it, they're overtaken by these storms. Everything Paul was afraid of came to pass. They're stuck in the storm for many days until, as the Bible tells us, all hope was gone. Their decision to set sail did not go the way they had planned, and they were really ready to give up. And this is when Paul encourages them with some news directly from God. We find it in chapter 27, verse 22 and following. I'm going to read it from my phone because I really like this translation of it. This is verse 22. Take courage. None of you will lose your lives, even though the ship will go down. And he talks a little bit more about what God has said directly to him about this. Then he finishes with this. What's more, God in his goodness has granted safety to everyone sailing with you, talking about the sailors. So take courage, for I believe God. It will be just as he said. But we will be shipwrecked on an island. Paul's saying, look, y'all, things are bad. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. This is bad. We've lost a lot, paid the price for our decision to leave when we did. And on top of that, there's still more to come. But what you need to know is this. Just because we're shipwrecked doesn't mean we're stranded. Just because we're shipwrecked doesn't mean we're stranded. Many of you feel like you're shipwrecked somewhere. You've barely survived the storm in your life, and you feel stuck where you are, lost at sea, and maybe even like your hope is gone. But the truth is, hope is never gone, because God sees you. He hears you. He's near you, even where you are now. And it's tempting. It's tempting to blow that off, considering everything that you've been through. But remember, just because you're shipwrecked doesn't mean you're stranded. Despite the fact that the sailors ignored Paul's advice, God's goodness was still with them, and he saved them all. God's goodness is still with you. So take courage. God is not done with you yet. And my prayer is that in the middle of whatever it is you're going through today, remember that just because you're shipwrecked doesn't mean you're stranded. To that end, I want to pray for you today. God, thank you that despite the circumstances that might surround us, despite the bad decisions we may have made, despite the things that just didn't go our way, even though we had good intentions, we try to make the good decision and we feel stuck and lost despite all of that, God. Thank you that you promised to be near us. And what I want to be reminded of, God, and what I hope we're all reminded of this morning is these things that were happening to the sailors, they were still happening. And without this promise of hope, it would have looked terrible to be shipwrecked, to lose the cargo. All that is bad. But even in that, God, you were with them, and we know you're with us. So would you just reveal some of yourself today? Whatever it is that you choose. But God, would we have the eyes to see it, the ears to hear it, Lord, and be reminded again that no matter where we are, no matter how bad it is, you are with us. We thank you and we love you. Amen. Thanks for being here today. We will see you again tomorrow.